everybody, and welcome to the Human Echoes recap for Z Nation Season 4, Episode 1. It has been 2 years since we last saw our heroes. In story time. Not in real time, it's been like a year. A little bit less than that. And things have apparently gotten worse, according to the opening title card of this episode, which is a tiny little bit of a fake out. We see Warren in hell, essentially. Zombies are just burning up all around her. She's in this lava landscape. The whole world has essentially turned to fire and ash. Sounds like a bad time for basically everybody. And then we find out, oh wait, no. That's not really what's happening, maybe? Warren was just in a dream that was also part of the coma that she was in that took place over 2 years since the last time that we saw her. I'm gonna just say right now, I'm not a huge fan of this 2-year time jump. I'm split about this because on the one hand, I don't need them to show the specifics of exactly how everybody got out of the situation that they were in at the end of last season. Because I knew they were going to get out. I knew that was going to be okay. I knew they weren't killing many of these characters off, except for maybe 5K, because he's a kid and kids are expensive on a low-budget show. So I thought that they were all going to make it out. However, we're 5 years in the future, 2 years in the future, I'm sorry, brain jump. We're 2 years in the future here, according to Murphy anyway, and it doesn't seem like we need to be that far along. I don't know what narrative purpose is really served by jumping that far in the future, except maybe to give Warren a reason to believe Murphy when he says that everyone's dead. And Warren does wake up. I love the sequence here as she wakes up. She has no idea where she's at. Apparently there's no alarms or attending doctors or nurses or anything. She's just in this weird cocoon. She busts out, kind of chrysalis-like. I thought that the chrysalis imagery was really interesting there. Busts out of this thing that she was in and goes stalking around the base of this place where she's been in this coma. She doesn't know what's going on and finds herself an outfit. Got the blonde hair now. A little bit of a sketchy blonde wig. But it looked okay for the most part. And I think this is an indication that she's a blend now. That's the best way that I can interpret it is that the Murphy blood, we saw the bullet go through Murphy at the end of last season, goes through Murphy, gets its blood on the bullet, and then the bullet penetrates Warren, meaning that she's got some kind of Murphy juice. And we don't know exactly what that is, but my guess is that it's somehow related to these visions that she keeps having. Again, this is all purely speculation. I'm sure that we'll find out more specifics going forward. I wanted to point out, I was going around looking for a little refresher because I watched the episode last night and spent some sleep time. I didn't make the copious notes I normally do for these. So I wanted to sort of refresh myself. Went to Wikipedia looking for the episode description. It was not there. And it was so much not there that they had the original episode title for this episode on Wikipedia, which was the Black Rainbow, which is the object that we see in Warren's dream. It's this black arch that's made up of something. We're not exactly sure what, but it looks particulate, and I saw some people trying to link it to 5K, and I don't think that's a terrible idea. I actually think that there might be some crows in that giant arch that Warren is seeing, but it's hard to know how linked to the real world this dream that she's having is. Of course, Murphy's lying to Warren, or he doesn't know and doesn't care enough to find out, which is a tricky needle to thread. The others are not dead. I would probably still watch the show if they brought some new cool people in, but I would not be a fan if they just killed everybody off screen and said, oh, well, by the way, you didn't see it happen and 2 years passed, so Sucker! Yeah. But they did obviously stay alive, and they're all split up, which is... I'm going to come back to this problem I have with the 2-year time jump. We know they're going to be more or less on a team together. We know that these characters are not just going to do solo bits through the whole show, that they are going to end up interacting in some way, unless you're talking about Citizen Z, because he does his own thing and never comes out and talks to people. But except for last season, where he was green screened onto the same place where they were, very clumsily. But the function of having these people split up is that now we have to get them back together, and the show has to rush through that. It felt very rushed. I love Doc and the long beard. Don't get me wrong. The long beard Doc, long hair Doc, for like half a second was neat. It sort of, again, drove home the idea that a lot of time had passed. And there was a fun sort of fake out there where you thought it was him in the hoodie, and then it turns out to be him like following up from behind that. But the way all this is just kind of cobbled together, it feels like they were stumbling through these scenes. We got to get done, we got to get done, we got to get done. We got to get them back together so we can go to New America. I mean, we do that. Just keep them together. There was no reason for them to have split up in the first place. They still have to fight. There are still zombies. There's still like a zumbleweed rolling around. Maybe their like teamwork would be a good thing for them to have. Maybe I'm just frustrated. Maybe I'm more frustrated than I'm letting on about not getting the specifics of exactly what went down at the end of the season and not having them just sort of hand-waving all this. That's entirely possible. 10K and Red are together now. They're living in a tent house, tree tent. I don't know I've never seen one of those before, but 10K seems to be pretty chill about it. He thinks it's relatively defensible, and Doc drags him out of it and says, but no, man, New America, it's going to be cool. Doc, you're super genre savvy. I'm super genre savvy. We don't have a single person in the show who's seen this, who's laid eyes on New America. Not one single person. You're going to drag 10K away from his wedded bliss in Tree Tent with Red and just put him on this journey to New America because you heard it was good? I get that you're looking out for the kid. I understand the character motivation here. But it's not going to be good. It's going to be bad. It's going to be overrun. You know that's how it's going to be. And we're already getting hints in this episode that the convoy that's supposed to take him there is also overrun. Doc, you're better than this. I know you're better than this. But he does. He, of course, because we need to have a television show, he puts 10K and Red back in the main team roster. While he's there, we kind of hear a little bit from Red and 10K about what happened to 5K. And it's still confusing. They describe this column of blackbirds, right? This murder of crows that just flew in a sort of a pattern around where 10K fell and then dispersed, and there was 10K's body smashed on the rocks. Presumably it was 10K's body. We don't actually see them go up and check, but I'm just going to take their word for that they, like, the smashed remains were 10K somehow, or 5K. Brain skip again. But the explanation that Red gives at one point in this episode is that 5K gave his life to save Addy and Lucy. Geographically speaking, I don't know how that works. Okay, so like Lucy jumps off a cliff, and then Addy jumps off a cliff after her, and then 5K jumps off a cliff after both of them. What does he realistically do in the maybe 5 seconds he has as he falls behind these two to save their life that also ends up sacrificing his life? It doesn't make sense. Like, does he get in front of them and use his body as a cushion and also call all of the crows in the area to come and, like, in this period of time that they're falling, and grab onto their clothes and stop them from falling? And if he could do that, why would he not? There's just a lot of questions. The realistic answer is it just doesn't make sense, because they didn't feel like addressing any of this. But I'm a little bit annoyed that they addressed it so poorly. Speaking, though, of Addy and Lucy, one of my favorite things in this episode is that team up. I did not expect to see Addy and Lucy together hanging out. And this is where we get sort of the most clear picture of this actual 2 years having passed, right? 10K could have moved in that tree tent like a month ago, all right? And, you know, him and Red could have had a fun time, and everybody could still get back together or still be together or whatever. But Addy and Lucy, here at least with these two characters, you really get the sense that they've had some time to build up some rapport, to get to know each other, to know each other's sort of foibles and stuff. And them going to town on, well, not going to town on the zombies really, because here we have sort of Murphy 2.0, right? Lucy has the Murphy gene. Apparently all of the Murphy gene, as we find out later, but definitely the part of the gene, and we saw this in the last season as well, where she can communicate with the zombies, where they mean something to her, that they're still people to her, even though they're sort of, you know, locked in these bodies that are constantly trying to eat people. And they save some people from the zombies by calming the zombies down rather than just whacking the Z's. And that's an interesting change of pace for Addy, especially, whose baseball bat, which somehow she got back, guys. I mean, of all the things that are unrealistic in this episode, I guess I'll let that one slide, but somehow she managed to get her Z-Whacker back, or a new version of it. But it's not a Z-Whacker anymore. She's not spending a lot of time killing Z's because her and Lucy are doing their thing. And I'm interested to see how all that's going to play out, because the rest of the group is still perfectly fine shooting zombies. Warren is still all about just killing everything. We'll get back to her in a second. But Addy and Lucy are becoming kind of the Murphy 2.0, really, where Lucy has this empathy for the zombies, probably more than Murphy ever did. Murphy had more empathy for himself than anybody. Lucy is feeling for these zombies and empathizing and telepathically communicating with the zombies, and that seems to be her mission. She doesn't, I mean, she has created a blend, all right? We do see that she's made Addy into a blend, and that raises all kinds of questions. I'm gonna say that might have something to do with the ending of last season, that maybe she did that to save her life somehow. But regardless, these people, she doesn't seem to be interested in making more blends. She seems to be interested in actually saving the zombies, which is a new and interesting way to go with that, with what Murphy had initially. You know, he felt the zombies, but he thought the way to deal with it was to make these blends, that the blends were going to inherit the earth. Now we have Lucy here saying, nah, I'm just all about these zombies. Let's just do that. Let's just save the zombies. And the moment when that guy kills the zombie, I mean, she doesn't go ham on him, right? Like, she's not totally going to rip him apart, but she's very put out that a zombie has been killed in front of her. She does not want to deal with that. Speaking of killing zombies, back at Zona, Warren is experiencing the good life, for lack of a better word. Although for her, it's not, because she still keeps flashing back to this black rainbow and this horrifying landscape that is covered with fire and awfulness. And she can't snap out of it, but Murphy's trying to show her the beauties of Zona, right? Everything that's great about Zona. And there was, I miss the antagonism between those two from season 3. I really do. My favorite part of season 3 was Murphy trying to build Murphytown, right? And the sort of moral ambiguity that came with, okay, he's going to bite these people and they are under his control. They've given up a certain measure of their freedom, but like, they do have real, actual, like, freedom from the fear now of the zombies, contrasted with Warren, who was becoming more and more morally gray and willing to do anything and disregard almost anyone in order to stop Murphy and complete her original mission, which doesn't even really make sense anymore because like all of the government that she knows about is gone and all the scientists have been killed, and she just wants to stop Murphy from making blends. I loved that. I love that sort of moral drift that was happening where you weren't sure. I mean, you knew that everybody was bad, but you kind of stopped being able to really root for somebody. At least I did. I felt that way about the last season, and I thought it was great. And here we have erased essentially all of that. Murphy is no longer on a mission. He doesn't, I guess he already is kind of the Messiah, but he doesn't need to be in charge anymore, which just doesn't seem like Murphy. It seems like he would have got a taste of that power and been all about that forever, but no, he's fine to be subservient to the founder as long as he gets his cushy fun time, and Warren is not really bent on taking him down anymore. She's still fighting these visions, but she's kind of just okay, you're Murphy. I know you, and I know I believe some of what's going on, and I'm just gonna roll with this. The conflict between these two was so great last season, and here we've just kind of lost that. Murphy's just sort of footloose and fancy free, and Warren's just confused, and that doesn't really lead to a great drama, for lack of a better word. It's fun to see Warren sort of dealing with these visions that she's having, and I really want to see how that goes, but I didn't want them to just erase everything that happened in season 3 and say, well, Warren dealt with the whole Murphytown situation, so moving on. Murphy's cool with it. Warren's cool with it. Like, why would Murphy be cool with that? With all that, I know that they teamed up and everything. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed with what this relationship has evolved into, and I hope that it continues to evolve into something that I can be a little bit more grab on board with, let's say. Warren in Zona sees the advancements that are being made, and she meets the founder. The founder looked familiar to me, although I couldn't tell if it was just because he was an actor that I knew from somewhere or if he had been in the show before. I remember the guy from the end of season 1, and I did not go back and watch, but I couldn't remember if he had survived the whole time, the dude who was going around actually trying to make the zombie virus. There was part of me that thought that might have been him, but I don't know for sure, and he's under a lot of makeup at this point, so maybe it would be hard to tell anyway. But it would be an interesting revelation if we find out that the founder actually created the zombie virus as a way to sort of cleanse the world and, reset it. I mean, all the posters are talking about the reset, but what if the reset was the point all along? That he thought that overpopulation and poverty and all this other stuff was a problem, and the way to deal with it was just to kill everybody. Mission Impossible villain style. I don't have any proof of that, but it seems like that would fit together with how Z Nation works, I think. And so she meets him. He talks about sort of his vision and how they're trying to push forward to not want to wait for these zombies to be just starve out, which they've hinted that Z Nation zombies can starve out eventually. They have like a much longer lifespan than you would normally without eating, but apparently within 10 years they'll be all gone. So they want to accelerate this process, and as he's talking about all this, he keeps cutting back to this dude with yellow glasses. Just somebody really super creepy. He was at this party. And I also wanted to mention that there's a great sort of Get Out vibe to this party. I don't know if it's intentional, but there are other people of color there, but not many. And some of them are on the serving staff. So you got Warren as a black woman sort of in this den of white, mostly dudes, and all rich people. There's an interesting class dynamic going on there that I don't know how much the show is going to explore, but it seemed interesting. But she finds out that there's this plan. She's sort of off balance because she's still having all these visions. They bring her a zombie cake that Murphy had them make, which she just destroys as she has yet another vision. And she has to be, psychologically evaluated. And they take her out, and she decides, I don't know what all this is, but it is not for me. I talked about sort of Warren going to the dark side last season. The one thing I do enjoy about this is that Warren is in a perfect world, right? And yet somehow, kind of like the Matrix, right? Where if you make the Matrix too good, they say, oh, people reject it. Warren has been in the awfulness for so long. And I don't know if it's PTSD or like combined with the visions that she's having or what. I'm not trying to make a diagnosis here, but she's been in this place for so long that she cannot accept the happiness, that she cannot accept, hey, everything's good now. We're all better. Granted, as viewers, we know that's not true, but Warren doesn't have any evidence. She's in paradise, essentially. And yeah, sure, the zombies are eventually going to come into Zona because that's how this show works. But in this moment, even before there's any evidence of that, her brain is screaming at her, this is not right. We can't, there's got to be something to kill. There's just got to be. I will make up a post-apocalyptic landscape for you to have some things to kill in. I enjoy that aspect of Warren's character a lot. And she tries to escape. She beats up some guards. She goes to the warning zombies beyond this point sign, which I can only imagine that you can probably just go down to Hot Topic in this point and buy that actual sign. Not from this show. I'm just saying zombies are so popular and cliche that they probably just have them. But she opens the door and kind of just shuts down as she sees this relatively pristine landscape beyond. I think maybe if she had the chance to stand there for longer, she would have been able to, to get something together and maybe go on. But she's not able to quite take that step. That gives them the time to come and get her and put her in the paddy wagon and take her away to be psychologically evaluated. And we kind of get to the end of the episode here where she pushes the button. We see Yellow Glasses Man doing the thing with a zombie hand and some gas that burns it up, and it sort of feels like Warren's vision, right? She's seen people burning up, and I think this is going to be the thrust of this season. I think what we're going to see here is that Zona wants to drop this gas on everything on the mainland because their narrative is it's all gone. Everybody's dead. All the humans are dead. So just get rid of the zombies. Just sort of purify everything and it'll be cool. And that would be super bad news for, say, possibly Addy, who is a blend. Lucy, who has Murphy's genes in her, and Murphy was dead, and I don't know how all that works. 10K, I think he definitely died and came maybe sort of back at the end of last season. So we have all of these characters that we care about that are some version of undead or Murphy-esque, and if this gas falls on the mainland, they're going to be killed. So I think that's where we're going with the sort of the overall plot. Obviously, we're going to see zombies come into Zona as well and attack. And we'll find out if the gas, maybe it just kills everything. Maybe it's not just a zombie anti-gas. Because Yellow Glasses guy was acting pretty careful around it. So maybe the real threat is that it just all kills all the humans, and it doesn't matter who's been bit or who's Murphyized or anything. But we'll see. Well, we will have to see. We end with Addy and Lucy sort of being captured in what I thought was a really intelligent honeypot type of a scheme where the Zona agents, I think they were Zona agents anyway, pretended to be zombies, and then before Lucy could really pick up on the fact that they weren't zombies, turned around and had the drop on them. And we get that great reveal, as I mentioned earlier, but still, I love the moment here in the show where all of a sudden we see Addy and Lucy start communicating telepathically, and then we see the bite on Addy's hand, and we find out that she's a blend. That was all kinds of awesome. The other amazing awesome thing, by the way, in this episode, I just got to give a shout out, and I hope he's in more than just this one episode. Henry Rollins. The dude who gives the hug, if you don't know who he was, to the lady and the leader of the Marines. He's a guy who, he was in a movie called He Never Died, and as an actor, he was capable of so much in that movie that I was not expecting. And because he's not, like, normally he's just a singer. Like, this dude just he's like it doesn't make music that I would really care about, honestly, but I saw him in He Never Died, and he brought so much to that character. And here he is again, and he just has an amazing presence on screen. I dug everything about every second that he was on screen, and I thought he was great. And I think we're planting the seeds of some really interesting stuff to grow out through this season. My complaint is I wish that they let more of the seeds of the previous season grow. But I like this well enough. This is not a thumbs down for me by any stretch of the imagination. It's sort of on the about 68% liked it. It's definitely a majority liked, but there were some things that I thought it felt a little bit rushed. I also want to say 10K's that Nat Zhang's acting has suffered, or maybe I'm just put off by the facial hair, or maybe they're giving him more acting to do. I don't know, but I was not a super fan of what he had to do in this episode. Domesticated life does not suit him. We need to kill off Red and send him back to being the strong silent type, is my take on it. Or kill off 10K, but no. That was just a joke, guys. Don't kill off 10K. Never. 10K forever! Anyway, that'll do it for the recap for Z Nation this week. A lot of exciting stuff to come, I am sure. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I had a lot of fun. And I will see you guys next week with another episode of the Z Nation Recap. Take care, y'all.